Hello, good morning. Talking with Brandon. Today we're talking about the Enneagram, if it's like a horoscope, Zodiac sign, or other things like that. So, a lot of people have said the Enneagram is similar to like Zodiac signs and astrology. It's kind of lumped into that grouping. I don't agree with it personally because I think the horoscopes and astrology, and, like Zodiac signs, and like even the fortune cookies from you get from the Chinese restaurants is
a bunch of crap, to be honest.
So, case in point, I looked at my own typing. I am a Sagittarius. I'm born in December. I was born in 96, the year of the rat. I'm an Enneagram type 4. I don't believe in the whole year of the rat, the fortune cookie thing, the zodiac signs. I don't believe in any of that, to be honest. Because in my mind, they're open-ended. They're very, vague. And they're kind of like whatever you want to make it to believe in, for example. So I'm going to tell you some of what this year happens to bring with those types of things, and then tell you about me in the Enneagram. So, with the Sagittarius, I took this from October 19th when I was doing my research for this. It says here, your hard work is finally paying off. You can expect to receive acknowledgement and advancement along with a possible salary increase or a substantial bonus. You should receive the good news soon. Celebrate tonight with family and friends. And they can also have some good news of their own to report, which makes for happiness all around. Like, 19th was a day where nothing really happened. For example, it was a Monday. I was here by myself. I played games all day. Nothing happened that day. Nothing really happened in the week ahead. To recording this, I got an interview for a job since I left my full-time job, but that wasn't anything to really report on. Like, I got the word for the interview the week before, so it's kind of like a very open-ended, whatever. I can care less. I was born the year of the rat. It says here in 2025, things are looking promising. You will enjoy a respite as there won't be significant conflicts with Taisu, the god of age. Life should be much smoother, and you may experience some good fortune in your career, allowing you to showcase your talents with ease. This year alone, I lost 2 jobs. One of them was because of bankruptcy, one of them was from an HR ploy, for sake of argument, HR decision. Nothing that affected me career-wise, so. But it's really? No conflicts. Nothing significant. Really. Artistically, I've done stuff with the Enneagram. I've wrote a little novelette I've been writing since 2024 for over about a year now, so. And I just wrote it because I had the intention of writing a scary story for online. Not necessarily to make it known to the world. So, really? And Times of India reported for 2025 that Sagittarius has a lucky year for 2025. Governed by Jupiter, the planet of growth and good fortune, Sagittarians are naturally in tune with abundant energy of 2025. This fire sign excels when opening doors, and 2025 is a year to embrace adventure, education, and personal development. Why 2025 is lucky for Sagittarians. Jupiter's blessing. And throughout the year, Sagittarians receive Jupiter's expansive energy, generating success in education, travel, and new experiences. Opportunities for growth. This is the best year to achieve Sagittarians' dreams, whether starting a new business, traveling, or learning a new skill. Spiritual and personal expansion. Sagittarians will experience deeper connection with their soul, leading to greater peace and satisfaction. It's very open-ended. It's hard to really formulate anything really concrete from all of that in my mind. I already said everything that happened to me. I started a new YouTube channel. I wrote a little bit of a book. I lost 2 jobs. I found a new person in my life, a new love interest that I'm not pursuing, but I'm really like attached to in my head and I'm really romantic about in my head. The difference between the Enneagram and these things is the Enneagram is specific versus very open-ended and vague. Like, for example, possible salary increase. It's not concrete. It's not definite. It may happen, but it may not. There won't be any significant comments of Taosu, the god of age. Taosu isn't really real, to be honest, like, in my mind. You know, significant complex, you can't promise that. It's very vague, you know. That's, you can't just promise that. It's very optimistic, in my mind, too, reading all this stuff. Oh, that's what makes it feel good. Makes it feel good inside. And there's unfounded, in my mind, unfounded foretellings. Like, it's very hard to... It's hard to actually, like, read that and be like, oh yeah, this happened to me. You know, whatever. You know, this is true. So, I'm going to use the book English Waking Up because it's right beside me for the type 4. I'm going to read the story of the 4. Because they open up the chapters with the story of when they were kids growing up. So, I'm calling this person, they call him 4 in the story. Once upon a time, there was a person named 4. When she was young, she had thought she had a total connection with the world, with nature and the people around her. She felt cherished by her parents, as all children should. But then something happened that changed everything. A baby was born. It was as if 4's perfect world ended. No longer was she the center of her own parents' attention. No longer was she the most special child in the world. When she wanted someone to play with or hug, everyone was busy taking care of the baby. She felt unimportant, alone, and ordinary. Would you not get off, Furnace? You were just on. Ruining my story. Anyway, going back to the story. 4 made sense of this terrible new situation by believing that she must have done something wrong to cause the loss of connection with her parents. After all, they don't seem to care about her the way they did before. It must have been her fault. They must have discovered that there was something wrong with her. Their new baby must be somehow better. What other explanation could there be? 4's new way of thinking caused her some pain and distress. But gradually, she got used to feeling bad and sad. And she reasoned, if it was her fault, that she had lost the connection she once felt, that maybe meant she could do something to make things right again. Maybe she could somehow make a connection with others and the world again, by showing everyone that's how special she was, by making them see how much she was suffering, by acknowledging that she, and she alone, wasn't as special as she thought. In the meantime, her sadness became a familiar friend that kept her company when she was lonely. Over time, 4 tried different ways to rebuild the connection she had lost. She tried to get people to see her as special again. She showed them how extraordinary and unique she was by drawing beautiful pictures, saying authentic things and expressing her feelings and emotional depth by singing sad songs. But no one seemed to notice her specialness. They just said she was being too sensitive or too dramatic. She tried telling people all the intricate details of her pain and loss in hopes that they would do something to ease her suffering. She tried to show how strong she was by withstanding all her suffering without complaining about it. she tried getting angry and competing with others to prove her superiority. But no one gave her the understanding and deep she longed for. None of her efforts made 4 feel understood or special. But eventually, these ways of feeling and thinking and acting became habits. She couldn't stop longing for love, understanding, and deep connection. But she also couldn't stop believing that she was totally unworthy of those feelings. Driven by the need to feel connected again, she continued to focus on and experience the emotions she felt about the love she had lost. She couldn't stop seeing all of her flaws. She couldn't stop noticing all the good things that others had that were missing in her life. And yearning for someone or something to help her feel worthy again. Without realizing it, the strategies 4 had adopted to cope with her feeling of loss came to rule her life. A lot of people thought it odd that she tried to get love and understanding by focusing on being unworthy for it. But every once in a while, her strategy did work to get her some attention, even if it was negative attention. It just reinforced her habits. Occasionally, somebody would see that 4 was special and try to give her the love she longed for. But by that time, she was convinced that she didn't deserve love, and because she hadn't been good enough to keep it early on, and she couldn't receive love when it was offered, she couldn't stop creating situations that conformed her belief of her own inadequacy and confirmed it. She couldn't stop pushing people away to make sure they couldn't abandon her again. Because she knew they would. She would always be disappointed. Trying to believe anything else only would increase her pain. It was better to be sad all the time. To protect herself in the hope of something good. Something that she could not have happened anyway. And thus, 4 became a zombie. A very authentic, emotional zombie. But a zombie just the same. Now you may wonder why this has to do with the Enneagram and why it did the story. But in the story itself, you can see examples of how life plays out. The 4 drew pictures. The 4 said things that were resonating with her soul, with my soul. Trying to tell the pain of life. Because life sucks, to be honest. And I've seen the social instinct, I've seen the sexual instinct acting in this, I've seen the self-preservation instinct in this, like, all playing in tune with it at the 4. But, and you notice, it's about a person. A person alone is a very more concrete than just some astrological saying, It's all more concrete. Oh, we're going to have a good salary bonus. Oh, well, that's really going to happen for me. Okay. Sure, buddy, And then it says in here people would reach out to the 4. But the 4, because they're very finicky and like a cat and mouse, they'll push that away from them. Because they can't be happy. They can't have that love and acceptance in their life because that affects them. And that would essentially rule them. So, the sad reality of it is, the 4 alone, at least with the creativity of the 4 and the pessimism of the 4, is real. You don't want to hear this story. I know I don't want to hear it. But it's life. It's real. It's concrete. It's set in stone. And unlike the stories of the Zodiac signs and all of that jazz, the story of the four that Beatrice Chestnut lays out in the intro to the chapter of the four, it makes it more human versus something abstract. You imagine four as a small kid growing up in life, to become a teenager, and then a hardened adult, dejected and sad and melancholic and just overall pretty pessimistic. You know. At the ending of the chapter, it says about how to overcome your zombie. And I'll link that in here too, because it's kind of sad leaving off on a very dramatic ending. Waking up from that zombie state of being sad and dejected and just authentic and very emotional. It says here that for type 4s, the key to embracing their true selves lies in gradually shifting their focus from what they view as negative or missing and allowing themselves to see what's positive and present in their lives. For many people, this is difficult, as the ego tells us we are not enough, or we need to be more, or we aren't perfect enough, or to meet some arbitrary standard in our lives, you know. But this type can rise above their self-defeating habit of their personality patterns and the ways they stay stuck in them. In fact, the only moment any of us can experience is the present. We have to be real. We have to be in the present moment. By being more present, fours develop the ability to access their true selves and learn that all is well as it is. When this type begins to see that they keep themselves from all they want by believing they can't have it, they open up to a larger view of who they are and enable themselves to receive a state of gratitude. Their egoic habit of maintaining a belief of their own deficiency keeps them in a zombie mode. But when they do the work they need to do to move beyond this false assumption, they radiate joy. They appreciate all of the emotional experiences. They don't get thrown off balance by any of them. When they let go of their belief that their own unworthiness, they become content in the knowledge that nothing is missing. They open up to peace and joy and calm that are in their true nature. Type 4's growth journey can be challenging because of their belief in their own inadequacy crystallizes a negative self-image at the core of their false self that becomes hard to challenge. But as this type begins to see through this lie, they recognize that their true selves are all that they need, that they are adequate beyond measure, until they work their way out of their comparing minds. They remain trapped in a limited perspective when everything is judged in terms of better or worse. But when they learn to see beyond this narrow focus, they open up to a much larger, expansive, and accurate view of themselves and others. Type 4s courageously give up their defensive stance of proactively rejecting themselves in order to protect themselves from abandonment. They begin to get their positive shadow side, their own true goodness, and accept themselves as they are. This leads them from a flawed sense of self to a realization of their inadequacy as an illusion, a strangely safe illusion, but a fantasy based on the fear of being hurt again. As they progress on their path, they continue to embrace their own essential wholeness, and they become adequately gifted in supporting others in the same journey from envy to equanimity, which basically is the state of being content as it is. They reference equanimity in the chapter, which basically means, let me find it in here. Equanimity is understood as a state of emotional balance that allows you to rise above the ups and downs of emotional experience and see equal value in all people, feelings, and situations. And it helps grow this type beyond their need to feel extraordinary to have value. So, it helps them become more melodramatic and mellow real. So, end of the line is that the story of the four, like, the four is trapped in your own, like, I can be trapped in my own experiences. I can use my job to define me as, like, I'm not worth anything, and I can be very dramatic and sad about that. And I was sad for about a month, in all honesty. But I kept working, and I used the work to kind of fuel me to keep going forward. And if I used the horoscopes and I saw my life pattern going forward, I would have thought they were just a bunch of crap, and I would have been dejected and would have been sad, and I wouldn't have really known where I was going to be at, in all honesty. But with the Enneagram, I may not have this, optimism of it, but the Enneagram tells me and myself what my key traits are. It shows me what I can do. It shows me who I am inside. I am the 4 child. I'm the 4 teenager. And I'm the 4 grown up. I'm that woman that went through that whole journey. And if I was still that way, I would have been trapped in my negativity. I would have been cold and isolated and just kind of pushed everyone aside. Because that's how I operate. But the Enneagram helps me prove to myself, to see myself as the potential that I can be better. Like every type can be better. We don't need to be trapped in that zombie state. We don't need to be stuck in that pattern of just mindlessness. We're people. And I know, granted, the spooky season wasn't really spooky itself. It was more just like talking about taboo topics. But ultimately, at the end, like, some of the more troubling things aren't what's on the outside of life. It's what's inside of the heart. Because the true evil of the world is what's inside of us. The darkness of humanity. The darkness that we don't want to acknowledge in life. But we need to face that darkness. Because if we don't face it, it's going to roll over us. Clam us and cramp us in a style of just being trapped in ourselves. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this Halloween season. As we look forward to Thanksgiving and then Christmas time down the road, I hope you guys enjoy the season ahead. I hope you guys stay warm. You heard my furnace kick on, so hope you guys have heating oil and fuel up your house with stockpile of setting for winter time, because I don't know how winter's going to be this year. But with that being said, guys, take care. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun during school season if you guys are in school. Take care, guys. Goodbye.